Hello and welcome back to the channel. My name is Ryan Trimble, aka Trembly Wimbley, on Twitch, on YouTube, on Twitter, on everywhere, I guess. Today we are doing our second ever video. I mean, I guess not ever. We put out videos sporadically in the past, but this is my second video about Dragon Age. In yesterday's video, we talked about the character reveal, the initial trailer from the Xbox showcase. I talked about how I thought the negativity was way overblown and how I really enjoyed that trailer. Today we're going to be taking a look at the longer 15 minutes of Dragon Age Veilguard gameplay that they released today. And you know what? Interestingly, in the same way that in my opinion, I was kind of the opposite of the reactions I was seeing online with the character reveal, I really thought it was positive. It definitely had more of a fun and like tongue-in-cheek vibe, but I dug it. Here with the gameplay trailer, I feel like I'm a little bit on the opposite side as well. I've been seeing almost nothing but positivity. I've watched a lot of videos today. I've already watched the 15 minutes, so this won't be a reaction. We're going to break down what we saw, but I've already seen it. Took a break from work and watched it earlier today live. Watched some reactions to it. I've read the previews from places like IGN and PC Gamer, some other outlets, and the general consensus I'm getting is that everybody's really high, really positive on this game. And after reading some of the previews, my hype levels are coming back up. Like after listening to some reactions from some people who were there and saw the full hour-long demo behind closed doors, from reading the hands-on previews from some of these different outlets, I'm getting back up with where I was after the character reaction. But if I'm being honest, after watching these 15 minutes live, I wasn't feeling it. I just wasn't. It reminds me a lot of Dragon Age 2. I think we're going to see that a lot as we start to go through the clip. Reminds me a lot of Dragon Age 2, from the dialogue options to the overall presentation to the combat. And all of it I really vibed with. I like seeing the actual story. I liked that they're getting right into it with Solus and everything that's going on. The combat is what feels off to me. And I think maybe that it's just that the beginning of the game was not the best way to showcase the combat. I think when you get to higher levels and you have a lot of different abilities and your allies have a lot of different abilities and you're being able to control those and set up combos and expose weaknesses and so on and so forth, I think the combat is going to really shine in a way that we did not see today, right? That we just simply did not see in the gameplay that was shown. I think the gameplay that was shown feels like a step back to me. So let me explain. We had Dragon Age Origins that came out and was a total CRPG, right? And I played Dragon Age on the Xbox. And so on the Xbox, it felt like the game wanted to be a third-person action game, but it was meant to be played as a top-down tactics, like zoom out, control your entire party, control the battlefield, very similar to Baldur's Gate, right? And when I played it that way, I really enjoyed it. And when I played it as a third-person action game, it really failed, right? Because that's not what it was designed for. And then we fast forward to Dragon Age 2, and Dragon Age 2 had its problems. I think more so in the story and just the fact that it felt so rushed. To me, I thought the combat of Dragon Age 2 was actually really good. I liked the third-person combat, but it was very different, right? It was very different. It was a wide departure from Dragon Age Origins, and I remember a lot of fans of the original game, a lot of CCRPG fans, were very upset by that. So fast forward to Dragon Age Inquisition, and man, I thought Inquisition nailed the mix, where it felt like it controlled tight enough and the action was fast-paced enough that if you wanted to play it as just a third-person action game, you could, but you got more out of it if you paused and slowed down and really controlled everybody and set up each person's tactics to work perfectly. And so I thought it was just this perfect blend of both worlds. And the fact that they're going back to just really focusing on third-person action, the fact that you can't control your other characters, like you can, set up combos similar to Mass Effect, but you can't actually like zoom out and pause and take control of each person. To me, that feels like a step back. Now, I will say that this could be positive. This could be very positive news for BioWare, if for a couple of reasons. One, they're going to immediately distance themselves from Baldur's Gate 3. I think the huge positive from the showcase that we saw is that both because they've talked about it being a little bit more linear, a little bit more mission based, it's not an open world, right? There may be big areas to explore, but it is, you know, similar to Inquisition. You go into a specific area and you're going to do your mission in that specific area, and it sounds like, based on some of the interviews, some of the previews, that those areas are going to be a lot smaller than some of the ones we saw in Inquisition, which in a lot of areas Inquisition felt like an open world game, even though it wasn't, right? It feels like this is going to be a little smaller, a little narrower in scope in terms of what you're doing and where you are. And then also the combat is obviously very different than, I don't know what that sound was. Obviously the sound was very different. The gameplay was very different. The third person action elements very different than the tactical zoom out feel of Dragon Age Inquisition, Dragon Age Origins, and of course Baldur's Gate 3. So I think the overall net positive is they're distancing themselves from Baldur's Gate 3. There's going to be less comparisons between the two games, and I think there's a lot of players who don't like that tactical level of combat. A lot of players who would have loved Baldur's Gate 3 but like just couldn't vibe with the combat, who are going to love Dragon Age. So I'm not negative on it. I'm gonna play the game. I think I'm gonna really love the game, and I think once you get some abilities, the combat will probably start to feel a lot better. But I will say that I think what they chose to show did not showcase the game in a positive light to me. I'll just say that. So let's actually take a look. There we go. So let's take a look at the actual trailer. Let's pause the music. Let's make sure YouTube is turned up. And we're just going to let this play. I'm going to fast forward probably in some parts. We're going to talk through it. Like I said, I've already seen this, so this is not a reaction. Let's just talk about it. Just start off by saying,
she's the best damn detective I've ever met. If she says she's got a lead on Solus, I believe her.
Start off by saying the music is incredible. The music is absolutely incredible. And this is beautiful. Like, let's pause it already. I want to stop here. I love how vibrant this is. I love how colorful this is, despite it being in like a dark, you know, situation. Like, there's so many lights. You have the candle lights, you have this green, this like magical light going on. I think all of this looks amazing. I think the graphics look amazing. I also just love that we're seeing Tevinter. Like, I think that's awesome. Like, we've heard a lot about Tevinter. We've seen it from some characters. We've gotten a lot of lore in codex entries and backstories from characters, etc. For nerds like me who have read some of the books, you've gotten backstory in the books. You've heard a lot about Tevinter, but we've never seen it in the game. And so seeing it here is really, really cool. And it's obviously so different than anything we've seen in Ferelden. I love this. I love the way it looks.
Don't want to look conspicuous. Just get
Varric
out of
looks
here nice and
awesome
casual.
too. Look how good
Find
Bianca
them
looks.
jealous and stop Solus.
Love that the character is completely customizable. I was a little worried, like Hawk in Dragon Age 2, that it was not going to have a good character creation, but that's one of the things that I saw from everybody who got to preview the game, was that the character creation was amazing.
Endless number of demons. I have to talk him down.
Wait! But I didn't do anything!
I'm really interested in what this is. Like, I know Tevinter is like, they're like really strict with their magic users. So like, is this like a magic detection system where like, are they like hunting an apostate, or? I know they don't really have apostates. They don't have circles. Like, they don't really have apostates. They don't have circles. So I know their mages are more free in Tevinter, but I'm just curious, like, what that, like, police state situation was.
Let's go. Harding's this way. She'll get us to do my plot.
Lighting here is amazing. Like, you have the red on the left, you have the red from the demons. You have all of this like natural lighting plus the magical lighting plus the spotlights. Like, everything about this looks awesome.
My guess is the veil is weakening, and they're slipping through the cracks.
And when the veil comes down completely,
Then the whole world is going to look a lot like.
I will say, like, this whole area, this whole section, it reminds me actually a lot of the opening of Mass Effect 3. It's a little on rails for me. Like, it feels like there's nothing you can do wrong, right? Like, the demons are gonna run past you. There's never a chance they're gonna attack you or hurt you. All of the natural stuff that's happening, like the buildings falling over, etc., like there's no chance it's going to hurt your character, or that there's no timing issues here. It all just feels a little on rails in a way that I don't love, but I think when you're playing it, when you're on sticks, it'll feel a lot better than when you're watching it. I think when you're watching it, it looks a little predetermined. I think when you're playing it, it won't feel that way. Love that Harding is back.
What about you two? Are you okay?
Here we go, man. I actually really like this. One of the things I love about Dragon Age and about Mass Effect is the fully voice acted cast. I love that they're bringing back the 3 different options. I'm assuming we'll have more options, that it won't just always be these 3. But in Dragon Age 2, this was a thing, right? Where it was like you had your angry, like, kind of asshole comments, which is the one we're seeing here. You had your sarcastic comments. And then you had like your nice guy comments, and it looks like there's more than just 3, because we didn't see the sarcastic one in that list.
have you got my gear?
But I'm glad they're bringing that back, and I think this will be a really good version of that.
Wasn't she at the meeting? Rook, you're with the Shadow Dragons. I figured you'd know Minra.
I'm gonna fast forward a bit here into the actual combat. I know they're trying to show off. Yeah, I know they're trying to show off, like, you know, that it's not perfect gameplay, and I know they talked about like dodging and parrying is going to be really big in this game, which I think is cool. The combat for me, it just, again, I think it's going to feel better when you have more abilities. I think it's going to feel better when you can combo with your allies. It feels a little generic to me, I'm not going to lie. I'm just going to, again, I'm going to fast forward a little bit here. The dodge is cool. The little slowdown of time when you dodge perfectly is cool. We saw the parry where he deflected the missile. That's cool. Again, I think it'll probably feel better on sticks than it looks. I think it looks fine. It's just, again, it felt a little bit like a step back to me. Like, I really liked Dragon Age Inquisition's combat, and this just...
Come on.
I really hope it feels good. That's all I'm saying, is I hope once we get it in our hands, and again, once we get to a little bit of a higher level, that it feels better than it shows when you're not the one controlling it here. I think this part here, like, I think this is where we're really going to get into it. This is where I think it's going to shine. When you have, like, obviously it's a lot of nothing right now, but I've seen screenshots from later in the game where effectively on the left-hand side, you'll have one of your allies and their three abilities. I also saw in the previews that it's not just 3 abilities. You have a lot of abilities to choose from, but you can have 3 like kind of hot swapped here. So these are the ones where you can quickly get into and out of them from the combat. Very similar to Mass Effect, frankly. And so you can see that like the one ability that you have applies the weakened state. I think a lot of the game is going to be setting up your allies' abilities to provide specific status effects, and then setting up your abilities to impact people with those status effects. And I think it's going to be a lot of comboing in that way. And obviously this is like kind of pausing or slowing down the action so you can set up those moves. And yeah, you can see it is fully pausing. So... yeah, I think it's going to feel good. I was disappointed when I was watching it the first time. He also keeps missing. He misses like the majority of his shots. But yeah, I think it's gonna feel better than it shows here, and I think especially late game, it's gonna feel good. I do like that you actually aim. First time in a Dragon Age game that you're actually shooting in bow and arrow as a rogue. I think that's cool. I think it's gonna make it a lot more dynamic feeling. Here we go with the weakened effect again. That's very cool. Obviously very high damage. Oh, look at Varric jumping up like that. I didn't notice that the first time. Game looks gorgeous though. Can't take that away from it. The game looks freaking gorgeous. And then you've got Ice Detective here.
Alright, hiding.
Love everything about her design except for the hat.
It's so good to see you.
I don't like the sideways hat. Like, how's it stand on her head? I don't know. I don't love it, but I love everything else about her her design, including I love the inclusion here. I love the fact that she has the prosthetic leg. I think she uses her like mage staff as a walking assistant sometimes. I think all of that's really, really cool.
Isn't that a coincidence?
Some old friend said if I was
Love that your character's backstory plays into it. I know we're early on in the game, but you have to imagine this will continue to be the case. Oh, and here you go. You can see, back up just a tiny bit. Sorry, god dang it. Oh well, y'all saw it. The sarcastic one. I remember when I played Dragon Age 2, the only time I played Dragon Age 2, my hawk was sarcastic as hell. So I'm excited they brought that back.
I haven't seen Solus in person, but I did find hints of old magic, similar to what you get in Elven ruins.
I'm gonna skip forward here. A lot of I think what happened with this gameplay trailer for me personally is I don't think it'll feel this way when you're the one on the sticks, but watching it just felt like a lot of the same, right? It's the guy doing the same two attacks. He's not really using his ability that often, and I understand why, but I think a lot of this looks cool. I think the effects on the ground are obviously great. I think the dodging is great. I think it's going to feel good. It feels very, very dynamic, and the graphics are incredible. Like, you certainly can't take that away from it. Like, just look at all the stuff happening on screen right now. And they have said on performance mode, at least with consoles, it's going to run at 60 frames, or that's what they're targeting, which is awesome. Pride Demon, I think it's a little interesting. Pride Demons in the past have not been floating. They've always like had legs and like more like ogre-like. So a little bit of a design change with these guys, but they look cool. One thing I'm interested in, let me back up just a little bit in this fight. This is a good example. So the red on the ground, I pause like this, I can see it just fine. But I will call out, I hope they have colorblind accessibility options. I find here on the grass and in this dark setting, I think it's relatively easy to see, but I'm partially colorblind, and 99.9% of the time it does not bother me. But when I was playing God of War 2018 and God of War Ragnarok, the red and pink indicators on the ground in some areas were just really, really difficult for me to see. And first time I had ever experienced like my color blindness impacting me in a game, at least that I had noticed. I could foresee these being similar, like these effects that are on the ground and are kind of like just the circles. I could see this becoming difficult for me to process in real time on some backgrounds and some lighting settings. So I'm very interested to see what the accessibility options will be. And I'm just going to fast forward here. Love this whole interaction. I mean, I know they called it a gameplay demo, Great line.
More demons.
They called this a gameplay demo, and I mean, obviously it showed us the gameplay, right? I know a lot of people were really excited. A lot of people were excited to go back to the third-person action feel. But for me, this was another story trailer. Like, what got me hyped, what got me really excited was this ending here. So I'm just gonna let it play. We're gonna watch it, and
Rook, take care of the team for me.
take care of the team for me. That's a line of I'm about to die.
Hey, Chuckles. Hope I'm not interrupting.
Let's buy him some time.
Let's buy him some time. I want to fast forward here past this little combat. Great shot.
The veil is a wound inflicted upon this world. It must be healed.
By drowning the world in demons?
I have taken precautions to minimize the damage, Varric.
Minimize the... People are dying right now. You need to listen. Please.
Oh,
People are always...
y'all.
Minimize the... People are dying right now. You need to listen. Please.
Y'all. The emotion shown here, I don't know if BioWare does mocap or if all this is hand animated, but everything about this section of the preview, Varric's emotions here, the interplay between Solus and Varric, like anyone who's played Dragon Age Inquisition and cares at all about the lore, like, you have to be all in on this, right? Like, this is why we play these games. And you can just see, like, there's so much pain here. And, like, when you know the history, like, when you know, like, what happened with Anders and how, you know, that he feels like that's his fault. And, you know, depending on how you played Inquisition, if Hawk is the one who sacrificed himself, in Inquisition, like, that's another character that Varric has lost, and there's just so much pain here, you know, like, there's so much like, I don't want to have to watch another friend of mine die, or I don't want to have to watch, like, I don't want to have to sacrifice another friend, like, please just see reason. Like, it's so good. And then you have Solus, who is, one, broke Bianca, it's so sad. But you have Solus, who clearly thinks what he's doing is right and is trying to, like, you know, there's the whole storyline in the first game of Cole and of the demons and of Solus trying to make you see that, like, it's not black and white, right? It's not good and evil. And he's just trying to do what he thinks is right to prevent further pain and to, like, it's just so good. It's so shades of gray. And I love these games, man.
People are always dying. It is what they do.
Shit. We need a better plan.
Do you want me to take the shot?
Won't work. He's too powerful.
What if we disrupt the ritual?
How?
See those statues? If we break the scaffolding holding that one up, the whole thing will come down on Solus.
It's risky. Interrupting a ritual at this scale will have consequences.
And what about the demons? Varric needs us to hold them off.
Right, you two stay here. I'll bring down the statue.
What? No. Stepping into all that raw magic is suicide.
The storm could tear you apart.
Anyone got a better idea?
Fine, but you'll need backup. I'm with you.
I'm a mage. I'll go.
Either way, someone needs to stay back and deal with the demons.
All right. This is the other thing that I popped for when watching it live. the choice here of who do I choose, and then the choose wisely, your decisions will impact your companions. I am like, this is why I play BioWare games, right? I've seen a lot of comparisons to Mass Effect 2 in all of the reviews and previews that I read and watched today. And this is where you feel that, right? Like the Mass Effect 2 suicide mission, where based on your actions throughout the entire game, either everybody could survive or nobody could survive, right? Or anywhere in between, right? Like literally everyone in the game could die, or no one in the game could die, or any variation in between those two extremes. And I remember when I played Mass Effect 2, I didn't even realize that, because like I so meticulously did everything in the game and got all of my companions to like the highest loyalty and etc. and so on, that everybody survived on my playthrough. And then I started watching the reviews and reading the reviews and talking to my friends and realizing that like a lot of other people had people like major characters die, was such a like, oh my god, that's so freaking cool. And it sounds like that's gonna not just be the ending mission with Dragon Age Veilguard, but it's gonna be the entire game. Like your choices matter, death can happen, and so whether it's, you know, life or death, or whether it's just how much your companions trust you, or, you know, how much loyalty they have towards you, or how successful a mission is, this kind of stuff, man, BioWare's in their bag with this got me. Harding greatly approves. Let's go.
Hardy. Nev, keep the demons off us.
You got it.
I'm just gonna fast forward again.
Knowing all the lives it'll cost.
We shared a journey years ago. Do you believe that I would do this if there was some other better option?
The pillar's weak, but
It isn't falling. We need to push it.
I'm with you.
Together. Now!
You came a long way and made a valiant effort, Varric, but this story does not end with my downfall.
Push!
Love that the plan didn't work. Like the plan didn't work at all, but it distracted Solus enough that the rift opened in a way he wasn't anticipating. And then I'm glad I'm going back and replaying. I'm glad I'm going back and replaying Dragon Age 2 and Dragon Age Inquisition, because I don't remember enough about the lore to recognize these people. But based on the reactions online, I know that these are two big baddies. Like, this is not what Solus was going for. And I think that's so fascinating that now 2 games in a row, you have your character. In the Inquisition, you have the Inquisitor. In this, you have Rook, who unintentionally fucked up Solus's plan and then caused more destruction than what would have happened if Solus's plan had just gone through like it was supposed to. Like, that's such a freaking cool concept, where for the rest of the game, you know, you're going to be the hero that's cleaning up the mess, just like the Inquisitor was in Dragon Age Inquisition. But if you would just let Solus do it, who knows, like, how his plan would have unfolded without interference, you know? Like, so cool. Dragon Age the Veilguard, baby. Whoo! Like, I know I started this off by saying I was the opposite of most people, and I will say that, like, for me personally, for my taste in games, the combat is not speaking to me. And I hope that I get turned around. I hope when I play it, that ends up changing. But that was for what was touted as a gameplay trailer, right? It was touted as, we're going to show you Dragon Age gameplay for the first time. I wish they had skipped ahead. Like, I wish that they had put out this story as another story trailer, like, hey, watch the cinematics from the first part of the game to get excited about the story. And I wish they had shown one of the combat encounters that we saw in this 15 minutes and then skipped ahead to like level 6 or 7 or 8 gameplay and showed us like what the actual combat system looks like when you have some levels and when you have your party and everything is set up. I think that would have gotten me a lot more excited about the actual gameplay, about the combat in Dragon Age. But what this did for me was get me hyped for the story. It got me even more excited to replay Dragon Age 2 and Dragon Age Inquisition prior to this coming out. And we'll see, you know, like I have faith that from everything we've seen, from all the interviews that I've read, from all the previews that I've seen, that I've, you know, read and watched, it feels like they're saying all the right things. I prefer more of an open world game. I prefer more of the tactical combat. That's not what they're going for in this game, and that's okay. I hope that I end up loving what this game is, right? Because you know what? I love Mass Effect, and Mass Effect is very on rails, right? Mass Effect is you go load into your mission, you do your mission, you head back to the Normandy. And so if we don't have the giant open areas that Inquisition had, I don't know that I'll necessarily miss that, right? I liked the combat from Dragon Age 2. That wasn't one of my criticisms of that game. My criticisms of Dragon Age 2 was always it felt rushed. A lot of the, you know, reused animations, reused textures, reused areas. And then for me, the third act fell apart story-wise. Like I felt like the third act felt really rushed. Dragon Age Veilguard so far to me, so like just this beauty right here, Dragon Age Veilguard, what it feels like to me is Dragon Age 2 handled with more care. Dragon Age 2 that had more timeline to finish, that had more development time, that, you know, obviously in today's age had a much larger budget. It feels like they're kind of rewriting the wrongs of Dragon Age 2 in a way. From the dialogue system to the combat to the more structured story missions. I hope they pull it off. I really, really do. Because you know what? I liked Dragon Age 2 despite a lot of its flaws. And I think it's gotten more hate over the years than it should have. I think Dragon Age Inquisition was excellent. And if they can just take the story and the characters and how much they nail that in every BioWare game and also nail the third-person action combat, this game could be special. I'm really excited for this. I hope y'all are too. But that's going to wrap it up for us. We'll continue some streams later on in the week or this weekend. I fully intend, once I get Dragon Age 2 is now installed on my Xbox, so I just need to get my Xbox set up here at my desk and get it plugged into the capture card so we can play it there, play it with the controller, again, the way God intended. And then once we finish Dragon Age 2, we'll be doing a full Dragon Age Inquisition replay. I plan on romancing Solus, which I've never done before. I feel like that's a good way to set up for the story of Dragon Age Veilguard. And then, yeah, once come fall, I'm going to be all in on this game. Very excited. See y'all next time.